So, good morning. My name is Stephanie. Cristina, it's nice of you to come in. Before we get started, I would like to go over the confidentiality just so we can have an understanding. With that being said, anything that is said in this session or any of these sessions remains confidential, and I want you to know, like, this is a safe haven. If you have talks of harming yourself or someone else, then I do have to report that for safety precautions. And also, if your records happen to get subpoenaed or something like that by the courts, then I do have to give that in for those type of purposes.
Okay.
So other than that, do you agree to continue on with the session?
I do.
All right, well, let's get started. So what brings you in today?
Well, I have been struggling with body image issues and self-esteem issues for, I would say, since the age of 18, and I'm 30 now. I have these sort of ritualistic things that I do where I look at myself in the mirror completely naked before I eat anything. And then I would get dressed and eat something and then get undressed, look at myself again, and then go about my day. And I find myself always checking my body throughout the day, whether I'm in class or if I'm in church or something. I always have to excuse myself to do this checking ritual. And it's sort of gotten to a point where it causes me a lot of like anxiety and stress.
Okay.
So, yeah, that is the reason why I started to think counseling was a good option for me.
Okay. Do you mind if I take notes?
Oh, yeah. No
Okay. So, I heard you mention that this started around the age of 18.
Yeah.
And it has continued to you being 30. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on why you think that is? Like, what do you think kickstarted you having body image challenges?
I think that I was a fairly confident person, and I never really had these presenting issues until I started dating somebody. So I got into a relationship with my ex-boyfriend who was in the military, and he just made me feel really, I guess, bad about myself. He was in Afghanistan, and then we went on our first date, and when he picked me up, the first thing he said to me was, your boobs and your butt are not as big as I thought they were, and I feel like you manipulated your photos or something. So that was like sort of like strike one. And then I think the one that had the most impact on me was and I think this was maybe 3 months into our relationship. He asked me to strip completely naked and stand in front of him so he could tell me everything wrong with my body.
Okay.
And so he told me what I should get fixed surgically, funded by myself.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I started going down this spiral of like addicted to plastic surgery. So for the past 10 years, I've been getting surgery at least once or twice a year.
Okay. So, just so I can have an understanding, you have been suffering with self-image and body images since you were 18. And the reason that is because your now ex-boyfriend basically critiqued you on how you looked and made you self-conscious of how you look and how you feel. It's affected you mentally and emotionally. And you have resorted to getting plastic surgery and doing rituals and weighing yourself before and after you eat as a way of, I guess, reassurance and trying to make sure that you're staying on track.
Yeah. I think that sounds about right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from my notes, I heard you mention that your ex-boyfriend would make you strip naked. Tell me how that made you feel. Tell me how that made you feel when you met up with him and he expressed that he thought you looked one way, but this is how you look. Tell me how that made you feel emotionally.
I mean, I was shocked when you told me that, and it made me feel as though I wasn't good enough, or I wasn't, like, to his expectations. I wasn't this, I don't know, I guess it made me feel as though that he wasn't attracted to me, and that I looked really bad, and I needed to change. And it made me feel really, like, sad, because I was really excited about meeting him. We've been Skyping for like 6 months, and to have somebody that you kind of fell in love with online tell you something like that, it was really, like, disappointing for me.
Okay. And you said you guys met online, and you felt disappointed in the fact that he critiqued you and necessarily wasn't happy with, I guess, how you looked. And you said that you stated that he would make you strip to see how you looked from head to toe. What was that like for you? In that moment when you were taking off your clothes, what was that like for you?
I felt very vulnerable, and I felt very I wouldn't say micromanaged, but I had like a magnifying glass on me to have somebody like call out all your perceived flaws. So it just made me feel very uncomfortable. It made me feel I don't know really the right words to explain it, but I felt embarrassed. You know, I felt embarrassed because I was like, I guess made to feel like, yeah, there are things wrong about me and that needs fixing. And so to have somebody I love point it out, I felt embarrassed,
Okay. And how long did you guys stay together?
We were together for 3 years.
3 years. And throughout those 3 years, did he always make you feel this way?
He did always make me feel like I wasn't good enough for his standards or expectations. But I did realize that with every surgical procedure that I had gotten, I was rewarded with some sort of like love and affection from him.
Okay. And when did these rituals start?
I would say they started probably very soon after that day that he made me strip in front of him. Right. And so ever since then, it's like constantly checking about what's wrong and what can be fixed. And I find myself getting plastic surgery and creating more problems for myself. Okay.
And so let me get straight. So you started doing these rituals short after you guys had been dating, but you guys did stay in a relationship for 3 years. And throughout that time, with him criticizing you, it made you feel vulnerable and sad and self-conscious to the point where you resorted to getting plastic surgery about 1 to 2 times a year as a self-esteem booster, because he would reward you with love and affection with the procedures that you've done.
Right. Okay.
And was he aware that you were doing these rituals?
He was.
And how did that make him feel? Do you know how do you think that made him feel, knowing that he was doing this to you?
Well, He was upset about the ritual thing.
Okay.
He didn't really take responsibility that he may have caused the rituals.
Right.
But I think that he was completely unaware of how it may have made me feel and like the effect that it had on me, because he was the type of person to take no responsibility for any ways in which he may have damaged me or the relationship.
Right. So because he took no responsibility, you decided to take on the responsibility of fixing what you thought was broken.
Yeah, to maybe possibly, like, maybe this would help the relationship, as crazy as that may sound. But I thought, like, yeah, I perceived something wrong with me and undesirable. And so I thought, okay, like, if I fix it, then we'll have the perfect relationship.
Right. And has this situation ever happened prior to you meeting him? Like, have you ever had any self-esteem issues or body image challenges? Have you ever felt any of these emotions that you were feeling when you were in a relationship with him? Have you ever felt that prior to dating him?
I would say maybe.
Okay.
And the thing that sticks out for me is that I'm transgender. So before I transitioned to being a woman, I had these body image issues because I didn't see what I wanted to see reflected back in the mirror.
Right.
But when I initially made the transition, I felt 100% confident until I met him.
Okay.
And so there might be some correlation there to having my ex-boyfriend sort of pick apart these flaws. And I think it may have triggered inside of me, like, it may have triggered for me that he felt like I wasn't woman enough.
Right. Okay. And with you being transgender, you said that some of these things have already sort of lingered there because you didn't see what you wanted when you looked back in the mirror. But then as you met him and you dated him, he made you more self-conscious about how you felt with yourself and your body image, to the point where you decided to act on it and change what you saw in the mirror. And throughout this time that you were dating him, did you guys ever have any happy times where you felt confident? Beside you getting like the labeled praise when you did do a procedure, was there ever any times that you guys were happy?
I recall, like, there were times that we were happy, but it was very, like, I would say, like, maybe surface level, superficial, sort of happy, like, I kind of feel like he had his own insecurity issues with dating a transgender woman.
Okay.
And he was battling with that, and so he may have projected it onto me, and he had concerns about his family finding out that I was transgender, and so I feel like he did sort of, he was worried about that, so much so that it consumed our relationship to the point where we did have less happy times.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. But the few instances where we were happy, I wouldn't really say it's on like a really deep level. I don't know if that makes sense, because I just feel like we have more stress than happy times.
Okay. So he was battling with his family finding out, or maybe not accepting the fact that he was dating someone who was transgender. And because of that, he basically reflected those issues or those insecurities or challenges and brought them into your relationship which caused stress and anxiety and body image and procedures, surgical procedures.
Yeah.
Okay. And you stated that his family wouldn't have been happy. How did your family feel? Was your family aware that he was mistreating you, making you feel self-conscious about who you were as a person?
They were, and they told me that it was a very toxic relationship and that I should basically leave him. But I didn't, because my own insecurity issues, I guess. I mean, I just feel like during that time, I felt as if I would never meet somebody else again.
Okay.
And a lot of that has to do with, just the stigma of being transgender and how hard it is for people to be accepting to my experience, So although my family was very against it and they were fully aware, it was ultimately still my decision to stay with him, regardless of how toxic it was.
Okay. So your family was well aware of what was happening, and they encouraged you to leave the relationship because they ultimately felt that you deserved better and you deserved happiness. But you chose to stay due to the fact that maybe you were afraid to step out and explore other options because you were afraid of the stigma that comes along with being transgender.
Right.
Okay. And how are you feeling now? Because this is an ex-boyfriend, yes? So when did you guys end the relationship?
We ended it when I actually cheated on him.
Okay.
I cheated on him with another ex-boyfriend of mine.
Okay.
And that's when he broke up with me. And yeah.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, what drove you to cheat?
I was being treated like shit by my ex-boyfriend from the military, so I would be lying if I said that I didn't still have feelings for my ex before him.
Okay.
So it was very easy for me to fall back into the arms of him because he was giving me what I was missing from I'll put names to these people.
Okay.
Gabriel is the man I cheated with, and Calvin is the guy I was in a relationship with. So I cheated with Gabriel on Calvin because Calvin was not giving me Gabriel was giving me what I was missing from Calvin, which was the feeling of feeling loved and wanted and desired and 100% accepted for who I am, exactly how I am.
Okay. So you basically chose to step out on your boyfriend at the time, and you found the emotional support that you were looking for in your ex. And knowing that you cheated on your boyfriend, how did that make you feel? How did it make you feel?
I felt very guilty. I felt very guilty back then.
Okay.
Do I feel guilty now? No, I'm actually very happy I did because it allowed me to step away from a toxic relationship.
Okay.
So I'm really grateful that I did that.
Okay. And you stated that you felt guilty when you stepped out on your boyfriend and cheated with Gabriel. Why guilt?
Well, I'm the type of person that I don't really like to hurt people.
Okay.
So, he was very hurt by my actions.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard for me to accept that I was responsible for hurting somebody else, even though I'm fully aware that he has been hurting me for so long,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I tend to feel like I feel guilty about a lot of things, even though it's sort of justified in my mind. I just feel like I wish that I would have went about it a different way.
Okay.
So, having a conversation with him and stepping away on my own terms without cheating,
Mm-hmm.
because I really do like my morals. I really am against cheating. So. Okay. I think that's where the guilt came from, because it was in conflict with my own morals and values when it comes to being in a relationship with somebody.
Okay. And you said because of everything that was happening in your relationship, which you considered to be toxic, you stated that you resorted to doing rituals and resorted to weighing yourself before you eat and after you eat. And when you do the rituals, how does it make you feel after you're done doing the rituals?
I feel terrible. I feel crazy. I feel embarrassed, even though I'm the only one in the room. I feel, I would say, like, just disappointed, like upset, because I'm not seeing what I want reflected back. Which brings up old feelings about how I felt before I transitioned. So, all around disappointment. Yeah, and I'm disappointed in myself because, although I feel like I'm rational and I'm aware of what I'm doing, but I still do it anyway.
Okay.
Because there's something, even though it's disappointing, there's something satisfying about completing the ritual.
Right. Yeah. And you stated that you feel guilty after doing the ritual because something is satisfying, but you still feel apprehensive about it.
Yeah, I feel guilty that I'm even doing the ritual to begin with, because I'm so aware of what I'm doing.
Okay.
But it's like a guilty pleasure, you know?
Yes. And being that this is an ex-boyfriend, are you still practicing the ritual now to this day?
I am.
You are. Tell me more about that. Why are you still practicing the ritual?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
Like, I know the cause of the ritual.
Right.
I don't know why I continue the ritual.
Right.
Although I have some sort of idea of why I continue it, is because of the cause. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
okay.
I continue it because there are days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, okay, everything looks good. And I look how I want to look. But my perception changes every time I look in the mirror. Like, normally when I wake up initially, I'm satisfied.
Okay.
Once I start eating, I'm not satisfied because my body starts to change. And although it is a fact that your body doesn't drastically change throughout the day, I feel it does.
Okay. Okay.
So I have this perception with weight and, also my mother, she critiques my body all the time.
Okay.
Every time she sees me, she's always saying how big I am. And so that sort of makes me feel also I'm not good enough. My body isn't good enough.
Tell me what the relationship is like between you and your mother.
We're actually very close.
Okay.
We have a very good relationship. But I'm Hispanic and I don't know if it's cultural. I'm not really I'm not really self-aware about my own culture.
Mm-hmm.
But I from what I hear, Hispanic families,
Mm-hmm.
they are very concerned about your image
Mm-hmm.
and how you look and your weight.
Okay.
And my mom told me she doesn't like when her kids are fat.
Okay.
So she gives me a reminder
Mm-hmm.
all the time. So that could also be a reason why I'm continuing.
Right.
You know?
The ritual.
Mm-hmm.
And when your mother reminds you, although you guys have a close relationship, when she reminds you of your body weight or how you look, how your image looks, how does that make you feel to hear your mother say those words?
Well, it kind of brings up all the same feelings with my ex.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like not good enough,
Mm-hmm.
not woman enough, and that something needs to be changed.
Right.
So,
okay. I would like to know, how do you feel about you?
mm-hmm.
Nobody else. How do you feel about you?
Physically,
mentally, emotionally, how do you feel?
physically, I feel I'm not where I want to be, not how I want to look.
Okay.
But again, I do have some satisfying days. I do have some good days.
Mm-hmm.
I have more bad days than good days.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement
Mm-hmm.
as far as how I look. Mentally, I know I'm smart. I know I'm mentally stable, and so that's one of the things I do love about myself. I'm mentally aware of things.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other thing? Emotionally?
Yes.
Emotionally, I'm very, like, I wouldn't say emotionally unstable, but I am less stable in my emotional department because I'm just a very emotionally driven person.
Okay.
But overall feeling about myself, I mean, I fixate too much on the physical and ignore the other good aspects of me.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So, I'm going to summarize.
Mm-hmm.
You basically stated that you have a close relationship with your mother. However, you believe that culturally, there's a certain way that they prefer their children to look, and you feel like your mom prefers for her children to be a little on the thinner side, and she reminds you of how you look, which may in turn affect you negatively. And you stated that you don't know, like, you know why you continue the rituals. You know that you do the rituals, but you still don't know why you continue the rituals. But then you figured these are some of the reasons as to why you still might continue doing the rituals, with weighing yourself before you eat and after you eat. And so with that being said, the next time we're going to end the session here, and the next time you come in, I want us to pick up where you said that you're a driven person and you feel like you're mentally stable. I want us to pick up there the next time that we meet.
Okay.
So I want to thank you for coming in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right, thank you.
You're
You
welcome.
too.
Thank you.
Oh, wow, that was 29 minutes.
Yeah.